am Amanda. Like to introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Sean.
Oh, and we, Reagan. Reagan had a great idea that we do a video on marriage and business. And while I do a video every single Friday with Reagan on Facebook Live,
I don't spend a lot of time taking pictures of myself.
a selfie is different than doing a video.
Okay.
Oh, but Sean doesn't
I
do
do
much
neither
video. No. So I have talked about doing this video for about 3 weeks. And we are finally now doing it while Ellie is sleeping and the football game is
In a rain delay.
in a rain delay. So here we are. So this video, it's just about marriage and business and how we have navigated through it, what's worked for us. We are by no means any kind of professionals, nor should many people take all of the advice that we give. But maybe you'll find one or two tips of it. But we just thought we'd share a story. I obviously have been completely transparent with how we've built the hatchery on the business side, but we haven't talked as much except for on maybe a couple blogs on kind of the behind the scenes of the marriage part and how to navigate through being husband and wife and a mom and dad and friends and sons, daughters, in-laws, all of that fun stuff. So we're just going to come in and share some stuff. So I'll quickly start with the start of the journey, kind of from my perspective of it, and then if you want to kind of jump in on any of them as far as like your experience on that part as well. Does that make any sense? No.
We'll get through it.
So I actually did a talk yesterday, so the whole journey is pretty fresh in my mind. That the actual like seed was planted for the hatchery, or what was going to be the hatchery, was in January of 2014. It was a really long time ago. We were in St. Louis, and a couple at his work function, and a couple women had told me about a business that was in St. Louis that they're like, this would be really cool for Columbia. And so I became weirdly obsessed with the idea of having a place for parents to go, whether it's just eat or whether it's to do business. But then it had a couple childcare rooms where they could play, and then there was like yoga, birthday parties, things like that. And so I started really looking at their website, started looking at their Facebook page, seeing what they were doing, and trying to imagine if this was something that Columbia even needed, that if I could even do this, and if it wasn't, since it wasn't already done, why not? Is that because it wouldn't work, or is that because I was the only crazy one that thought this could? And so it kind of wavered, going back and forth of like, should I do this, should I not? I'd do some research and then I'd put it off, typically because it was like me freaking myself out about it on this is going to be really hard, and do I know what I'm doing? And so I was doing real estate and network marketing at the time, and then also doing a lot of research. So it was, I think it was after Ellie was born. So Ellie was born in June of 2015 that I remember, I think it was 3 months in, I finally was just kind of trying to figure out my life. Was I going to be a stay-at-home parent, which I'd kind of tried that and was realizing it's not who I am. Or was I going to stick with real estate, which I was pretty burnt out with, or was I going to do network marketing? That just, my heart really wasn't pulling to that, but it kept going back to this business idea. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this conversation, but I remember Sean was like, do it or stop talking about it, in a very nice and loving way, of course. But
that was pretty much it.
Yeah, because that had been after many conversations about this. And I remember telling him, and it was probably a Sunday, which I'm really good. He leaves on Monday morning, so usually I try to have those really good, deep talks Sunday night at like 10 p.m.
11:30.
or 11:30 p.m. And had told him, I was like, okay, I need to get this information out to people that are not our family and friends who love me and will tell me all the great things and like how wonderful this idea is, and talk to somebody that is completely like distance from it. And so that person, as if you've heard the story, was Mary Ropp. And so she was just a mentor of mine. I'd kind of watched her from the outside, and everything she touched was phenomenal. She worked hard, but she also spoke like to the truth of what things were. And so I knew that if anybody was going to tell me to either go or not go, it was going to be Mary. And so I remember telling him that, and scheduled the meeting with Mary and talked to her, and she really liked it. She thought there was a huge need for it, and that it was something that Columbia could happen. And so I started making those connections. Is there anything in there that was like 3 years condensed into 2 minutes? Is there anything from that aspect like on your side?
No, I mean, the biggest piece for me was just, if you're going to go. Like, you can talk in circles about it and think about it forever and not get anything done and stay busy, but not actually do anything. So get to getting. I mean, I remember that's where I was at on it.
Yeah.
If we're going to go, let's go. Quit talking about it and start doing something.
Which is, I am very, very grateful and blessed to have a spouse that thinks that way. And because I know there are a lot of women or men when they're like, I have this dream, I have this idea, but they don't have that support at home. And so I think that that's something that's that's been very crucial.
Yeah, but like from a selfish point of view for me, it was like, do I foster this thought and this dream and this thing that you have, or do I fight it and both of us end up miserable as a result?
Oh, yeah. And I kind of went like, I had that with staying at home. Like when Ellie was first born, because like I said, Sean travels like usually Monday through Thursday late at night, sometimes Fridays. And so having a newborn and having a kid and having that schedule and knowing that some things we'd have to go out of town for every once in a while, and like keeping up with the house and keeping our dog alive, the easiest thing for me to do for everybody was to stay at home. And I remember talking to my friend Callie about that, like, and also just like feeling like that's, if you have that opportunity, then you do that. Like, that's what you do as a mom. And then also the fact that, like, so we had that opportunity to take advantage of it, because there are a lot of people that want to stay at home that can't. And so I felt very selfish that I didn't.
We just figured out what was, to do what was right for us wasn't necessarily what was convenient.
Right. I talk a lot more than he does, so. So I remember Callie saying, like, you could stay at home, but you are going to start to resent him in the long run. And I remember that's what, like, that kind of happened. That happened right before I said, like, okay, I need to go talk to somebody to see what's going to happen. And so I didn't want to resent him. And so, yeah, here we are. So the business has been open for a little over a year. And, of course, the planning was long before that. And so somebody asked, Kristen, thank you for weighing in, asked whenever I put out, like, what do people want to know about with marriage and business? And she said, how do you navigate money and home responsibilities when one spouse makes more, him, but both are working their butts off?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, as far as who makes what and how it gets, the income for us in the household is what we do together. So as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter who brings in what or who gets what done. Like, this is the amount of money that we make, this is what we have to work with, and these are the things that need to be done to run the household. So I want to say cuss words, but I shouldn't.
I know.
I don't care who does what. Like, I'm not above ironing clothes and doing laundry and sweeping the floor and doing dishes. Like, that needs to be done for us to move on and go. Yeah. So, like, when you can do it, you do it. When I can do it, I do it, and it always gets done. Mm-hmm. And doesn't matter to me who does what or when, as long as it gets done. Yeah. Eventually, we'll have some help with that. Instead of a mess maker, we'll have somebody else helping clean it up.
Yeah, which would be
Ellie. Your daughter.
Is 3. For me, this was a lot different, and this was really hard. the the year before we had Ellie, I had my best year in real estate and felt really good about bringing in income. And my and I was raised as like you're very like to be independent. I was raised by my dad. You're to be independent, to not lean on anybody, which has been fun conversations for Sean and I to deal with now. But then when I stayed at home for the time that I did or worked part-time, I went from like being able to contribute a good amount to like nothing. And so that really played a bit like that, like kind of that messed with my head a lot, because I felt like I was home, so the floor needed to be cleaned, the house needed to be dusted, the laundry needed to be done, all this stuff needed to be done, the kid needed to be taken care of. But then some of the real estate stuff I was doing, or some of the network marketing I was doing, or some of the research I was doing, all also had to get done. And so, but that was not on Sean to say like, when I come home, those sheets better be ready and clean. That wasn't really on Sean. That wasn't really on Sean. That was more on me, of like the expectations and to feel like I was doing my part, because I knew that I wasn't bringing in an income, that I should be bringing in my, like, having my worth be like the household chores and taking care of things.
What we didn't realize at the time, because it was our first child, was that you really can't monetize keeping a newborn alive.
Right.
And that was the most important part out of everything, and we didn't realize that until well into it, where your feeling of self-worth depreciated because you weren't making any money.
Right.
Especially coming off of, the best year you've ever had in a real estate business. So we didn't know that going in. We didn't know how to address it. And in hindsight, of course, it's easy to identify now, but we didn't know that at the time. And so.
And I think this is interesting, and I know that he gets really annoyed sometimes, a lot of times with me, that's like something that a lot of women deal with. That it's because they're staying at home, like they're not making money. But if that's your passion and that's what you want to do, like go for it and go all in on that. Just like I had a hard time admitting that I didn't want to stay at home. Like that I did want to work. Like that was hard because one, I didn't have a mother figure, and I was like, how does this work? What am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to do? And then
you were all over the place.
I was.
I don't want to work. I do want to work. I want to stay home because I don't have the opportunity to do it otherwise. Now I don't want to stay home because I've been staying home and not. So I'm just going to open a business.
Fulfilled, yeah. And so I got to about 3 months in, and I remember like actually sitting at this table and like crying, because I was at the limit of, I'm trying to do all these things and I can't. And I didn't know if I should like go fold laundry or like work on a counter offer or like cry or just like lay on the floor and go to sleep. I had no idea. So that's when I actually reached out to an empowerment, like a life coach, to really go through the process of what's best for me. Not what's best for everybody else, but what's best for me, and like what does this next season of life, Sean loves that term, what the season of life look like for us. And she walked through like, what do I really want to do? Like, yes, okay, what's best for everybody else, but then what do I want to do? And so the big part of like saying no and like deciding not to do real estate or to do network marketing was my issue of disappointing people and letting them down and thinking that like I failed as a real estate agent. And it wasn't that I had failed. I just was not doing something that other people were like, you're great at this, you should keep doing it. I didn't want to, and that's hard for me. I'm very much a people pleaser. So that was hard for me to like step away and be like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. And then actually take the steps to start working on the business, which then to take that step and to go all in on myself was putting Ellie in daycare. And that was fun.
Oh God, that was a mess.
I don't think
I have the ability to stay home. I don't want to stay home. Does that make me a bad mom? There was just this wave of guilt that just barreled you over.
Hugely, yeah.
That was hard to filter through for a while.
Yeah.
But once you cleared the other stuff off your plate and realized that I don't have to do 75 different things all at once, because what was happening was you were busy, but you were getting nothing done.
Oh, yeah. And very much so.
So you were just chasing your tail, and then you were frustrated, and then it came time to put her into daycare. So that was it. Like, you had to come up to the edge of the cliff and jump off, and go all in on yourself, and you did. But that took you moving a lot of other pieces out of the way.
Right.
Right? Because really what ended up happening that we found out was that real estate, network marketing, whatever else you decided to dabble in was a distraction, and you let it be a distraction, and you used it that way.
Well, and a safety net too.
Yeah.
Like I could, if this didn't work, I could always go back to that. What have been some hurdles that we have had, and then how have we, I guess, conquered them, or how are we continuing to get better at them? I would say mine, the first thing is just like not feeling like I have to get everything done and be in control of it all.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. So like, and giving myself grace. Because I know that he would come home and he would be sweeping the floor, and I'm like, sorry that I didn't get that done. I had this meeting and I had this, and then Ellie didn't sleep, and so I took a nap, and I was justifying all this stuff getting done. And he's like, I don't care. But I felt like if he didn't know all the things that I was doing, he would think I was like sitting and watching TV and Cheetos.
Bonbons.
I like Cheetos better than bonbons. And so that was a big.
Well, the only hard part about that was that like the pillows on the couch were orange. So that was a giveaway.
For my Cheeto fingers. No, they weren't. Which there was a time and a place to sit on the couch and eat Cheetos. I just wanted to prove that that's not what I was doing. I would say another thing is that we've learned to do, because he is gone and I kind of keep track of everything that's going on, is over communication, which we struggle with still.
It's all or nothing.
Sometimes.
Like we over communicate or we don't communicate, even now, knowing that we need to.
Yeah.
Like if I, as far as everybody that we communicate with, each other's, between the two of us needs to be the most dialed in and the tightest, and it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and I think that goes through, like, I've known this for a little while, like, when he's on the road and I'm explaining, like, hey, this weekend we have this wedding and it starts at this time and we're going to drop Ellie off and then this and this and this.
Just because your brain space is free right now for you doesn't mean that it is for me.
Yeah.
And vice versa. That works the same way when I call you.
Absolutely.
And, things of that nature.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's one thing that we have to definitely over-communicate. So we have a shared Google Calendar.
Yes, we have to communicate about how we communicate.
Yeah. One thing, too, has just been going to counseling. We did that over a year ago, I think. Just because we do live crazy lives. Both of our parents are divorced. We have a crazy 3-year-old, and all kinds of other things. And so with parents being divorced, I knew, and the lives that we keep, and the tendency to not put as much time into ourselves as a couple, it's so limited that when we had that time, it had to be good time. Like, it had to be, I don't know if good time is the right phrase, but it had to be quality, and we had to make the most of it. Because, love language-wise, mine is, I can never tell if you're laughing at me.
Yeah, I am laughing at you, because what you would always call it is QT time.
I don't know if I'd ever abbreviate
every time you say that, QT time.
I don't ever.
My love language is QT time.
My love language is quality time. I don't think I've ever said QT.
All the time.
No. So my love language is quality time. And his is words of affirmation and physical touch. And so being a mom that is touched all day.
Just leave me alone.
Thing would come home and he's like, can I give you a hug? And I'm like, don't touch me. And then with quality time, I'd be having a conversation, and then he would pick up his phone or be looking somewhere, and I need this.
I got it.
With to know that you're actually listening and you care. And so that was a struggle. You're such a jerk. Put it away.
I was just kidding. It was just an example.
Right. This is exactly what happens. And then I would be like, screw it, never mind. And I'd walk away. And then, stop. So with that, I was like, there were some other things involved personally, but I was like, I would love to go see a marriage counselor just to stay ahead of things.
It would have been easy for us to go like this, away from each other, given our schedules.
Yes.
So we did that to make sure that we understood the things that were pulling us.
Yeah.
And how to navigate back to each other.
Yes.
That's where we want to stay, and we both knew that. And so, I don't know what to do with my hands.
You can put them back down.
Yeah. But anyways, that was why. Yeah.
And it was interesting because we found, like, the annoyances that we would have for each other were because this is going to sound so cheesy, because we loved each other so much that we were trying to not step on each other's toes. So, like, whenever I would get annoyed or, like, triggered that he's sweeping the floor, it's because I was mad at myself because I set my expectations high that I should be running this business and taking care of Ellie and having the house clean because he's not home, and I don't want to spend our family time, our quality time in the weekends cleaning the house. So, like, the fact that he's cleaning, and I'm like, he's been working all week. I know he's working his butt off, and now he comes home and I can't even sweep the floor. So then I would get annoyed and frustrated, and that would trigger me to just have an attitude when, like, he's like, I don't care. And so it's that I was trying hard to prove, like, to do things for him to prove, like, that my love, that, like, my acknowledgement of him working hard, that it would actually, like...
Yeah, it turned out that we would not really ever be mad hardly at each other, but it would be that you would be, we would be frustrated with the situation, and then we would take that out on each other. Mm-hmm. That's what would happen, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's next?
Oh, Lord. What was the biggest thing you got out of our counseling? We haven't been going lately.
Yeah, for like a year.
It's been a while. No, it hasn't been that long. But anyways, what did you get out of it?
That was it. Like
How to communicate?
Yeah, that I need to just, like, step back and look at the situation and figure out really where I fit within it and why I'm feeling what I'm feeling about it. Because 9 times out of 10, if I was upset, it wasn't that I was mad at you personally. It was that I was frustrated with the situation and our lack of communication about it. Mm-hmm. And so instead of addressing that as its own separate thing, we would come at each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I mean. So I guess my biggest takeaway was, like, how to know what I feel and how to address it, as opposed to how to just target that through a shitty attitude at you.
Mm. Or, like, you bottle it up and, like, both of us just get mad and then just stop talking, and then we would go somewhere later that night. That might be my go-to. And we would go somewhere that night and just be like, hi, we're a super happy couple with all this crap that we just keep pushing down. That helped out as well. Like, actually talk about it and see, like, okay, something's triggered this. Mm-hmm. What's actually the issue?
Here comes the trigger.
And really quick, how do you get me time and family time? Hi, sister.
We had to give some stuff up quite a bit, really.
Yeah. So with him being home only on Fridays and Saturdays, my biggest thing with wanting that quality time was the fact that, like, we weren't going to go out both Friday and Saturday. He's home Friday, Saturday, Sunday, typically. So we had to make the decision that I think more, made the decision that I didn't want to go do stuff, like, with friends and all of that stuff. Hi, girlfriend.
Good night.
Yeah. Friday and Saturday. So we really started we had to figure out and choose what was most important.
No, we didn't. We knew what was most important, which was us, and then we'd work everything else in around that, which we had been doing backwards the first time.
Right, yeah.
We had to give stuff up. Like, to make a decision in one area means we had to make another decision in another area, and that typically meant pulling something out of the other area. Cutting time somewhere else.
Right, and to also not feel guilty to the people that we were choosing not to do something with. Mm-hmm. And knowing that they might be annoyed. They might, get their feelings hurt. You look like a train wreck.
I think you're beautiful.
Hi. I mean, you are a beautiful train wreck.
Someone talks to you all the time, huh?
And then family time. So we are very, very blessed that, why don't you just lay down? We are very, very blessed to have family, to have our family close. His mom is close. His mom and dad are close. And then my dad is close. And then his sister.
Her husband.
Yeah. And so we're thankfully, because we wouldn't be able to do what we do without that. And without like Sittergetter and Tristan and all the people that watch Ellie. But on Sundays, it's been really nice after church. Sean's mom will take Ellie and typically take her so we go to the 8 a.m. service. It's done around 9:30 and she'll bring her back or we'll pick her up between 1 and 3 p.m. And so that's been really helpful for us just to get some, whether it's going to the grocery store and meal prepping or like we went to Perchy Creek. But being really, having that be very good quality time for him and I to get, and not get wrapped up and go, and forget about us as a couple.
Yeah, so we've been able to put the two things together, like figure out what is important to her as it relates to our family and to her business. And I've been able to do the same thing, and then we've been able to tailor our time together in those areas. So like, you don't like to cook. I don't mind it, but we know that if we make our food for the week, it imposes less on your time and it makes things easier for you during the week. Plus, we're eating healthier, taking better care of ourselves so that we can live a long life together. And that's important to both of us, so we can at least, with that as a backdrop, enjoy the time that we have to go buy the food, make the food, prepare the food so that we know we're setting ourselves up for success that way.
Yeah.
So we just had to drill down into those things and why we were doing things for figure out the reason why we were doing stuff the way we were doing it. And then it came together.
Yeah. And I think just the last thing we'll talk about is that, because somebody is hungry, is that we had to say out loud. And I think it was really Sean that said it out loud because there was an event of his that I just wasn't going to be able to go to. And being a people pleaser, I would put all of that stuff first, knowing I either had to catch up on my work or I just wouldn't be able to leave the hatchery because we didn't have that availability in the beginning. But to say out loud and to know that for each of us, we will make what we can.
I'm going to make it to your stuff if I can, if it doesn't impose on my stuff, because I'm running a business, you're running a business, and if I can get to yours, I'll do it as long as it doesn't take away from mine. Right?
Yeah. But then also be able to say, this is important to me that you are there, and not saying that and then holding a grudge. We've both done that. But if there is anything that you guys have questions on, let us know. And maybe we'll do another one of these. Maybe we won't. You just never know. I'd be up for it. I don't know if he would. So, yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun. And I think it's important this is where I feel like being authentic and being transparent about being a business owner and being like married and having a kid is that so much of social media and so much of everything is filtered to where you're only showing the best thing. And if you can't find somebody that you can relate with to know how you can do, like you can learn from them or do something better or to say, hey, I remember somebody talked about this and it was able to help me. I feel like we have a platform that we can be able to share that, to share our story and be open and transparent about it and hopefully help somebody that's either going through what we are or they go through it later on and they know that they can revert back to this. So have a wonderful day. We're going to go get this girl a snack. And yeah, thanks for doing this. Yeah, love you. Bye. want to be together.
And I pooped in my pee.
Drop the mic. Ow.
So, that's what we're going to finish.